panel of judges.
My name is Akweti Thomas Kwame, a third-year nursing student at Panta Nursing Training College. Mr. Chairman, please permit me to say a big I go to the debaters. I think they've done very well. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Chairman, I think Panta NTC probably has the largest audience up here. But it's amazing to know that even our presence has not been acknowledged in any of the debaters' speech, even though they were debating on mental health. My question to Ms. Irajua is that what should be the ideal condition of both psychiatric nurses and doctors alike, coming from the background that a sound, a sound mind is in the sound body. The nurses and probably the doctors who take care of these patients are not in a good condition. If you come to Panta, you have some nurses who live in uncompleted structures. I wonder how sound they will have in mind to take care of these patients. In your opinion, what should be the condition of service for psychiatric nurses and doctors alike? Thank you.
You are talking about the condition in which the caregivers or psychiatric nurses and doctors should be in. I find it quite appalling that people who have devoted their lives to improving the lives of others have found themselves in such dire straits. I believe it was mentioned, but I'll further expatiate that we want incentives to be put in place such that the caregivers themselves are comfortable enough and in a good position to actually administer the health care that they're supposed to be giving. And when we say incentives, it's not just of the financial sort. Dr. Ejapon made mention of some incentives that were given in Ireland in order to motivate more people to come into this field. And one of them, which he didn't mention, is that in Ireland, psychiatrists are allowed to retire at the age of 55. But you can still go into practice and you can still be contracted to work. So in a sense, you are more or less receiving a double pay because you'll be receiving your pension as well as being allowed to work. Something like this could be instituted in Africa or Ghana specifically in order to get people to work. Housing grants can also be allowed, car loans. The point is we want to make sure that those who are doing the work of improving the lives of others should also be in a state, a good enough state to be able to implement the very work that they are doing. So I hope I've been able to answer your question.
As chairman, I'm supposed to be neither negative nor positive. Professor Elson, where will I be if I'm not a negative atom? Or but that gentleman took the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask contestants. They all mentioned psychiatrists, and psychiatrists alone do not carry mental health on their shoulders. I was wondering why none of you mentioned other professional workers in mental health. Many of the people who need mental health are seen outside the hospitals. And there are some mental health professionals here who also do a lot of work, but whose contribution none of you mentioned. He has mentioned one. And I would like you to, perhaps in your answers, take into consideration and make the audience and your judges know that you are aware of the fact that a good mental health service does not only depend on doctors. Do you agree?
I couldn't agree more, sir. I would like to apologize again we will find the way forward. Thank you.
I would like to first react to the question that our gentleman raised. I mean, personally, I'm in contention of the fact that we always say a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. Because there are areas in Ghana, for instance, where schistosomiasis is so prevalent and it's considered abnormal in the vicinity for a young man to get to a certain age without urinating blood. And these people are healthy in their minds. They consider it normal, even though their bodies are not healthy. So a healthy mind can reside in an unhealthy body. But can we ask ourselves the converse, that if the mind is unhealthy, can the body be healthy? And this is what gives us the very prime importance of mental health. Because once the mind is deranged, a person loses his personality and no more becomes the human being that we want him to be. So I contend that statement that a healthy mind always resides in a healthy body. And I say that mental health is very important. We need all the faculties on board, because doctors, nurses, those who are going to do diagnostics and everything. But as I stated in my presentation, that is an unattractive field, given the state in which it is. And so if we are going to tackle it at all, I think it's not about motivation. You can't motivate people into a system which has not been revamped. I can't tell you I'm giving you education, and then after giving you your provisions, I take you to school under a tree. So I think that the system ought to be tackled. The infrastructure needs to be laid, and then from there, people will get attracted. And when they are going into it, the incentive packages also come along with it. Thank you.
In addition to that, we realize that Ghanaians are very religious people. And I find it strange that in some of our speeches, that in the churches, there was mention of pastors casting out demons, where what they should have been doing was taking them to mental hospitals to get treated. I think that one of the things that we need to look at is training some of our religious leaders to be able to identify some of the symptoms of mental clinical disease or clinical mental disease. Because some of these people are the very ones who are causing us a disservice. Even though in their minds they believe that they are doing what is right. There's a path that seems right unto man, but its end is destruction. We need to educate some of these religious leaders to help us impact the people positively. Thank you very much.
I think that the problem we have in Ghana is that I think that mental health awareness needs to be integrated into all aspects of health and social policy, not only just on health. Health planning systems and delivery of primary and secondary health care. You see, the problem is, a few years back, everything was centered on primary health care, and they forgot that mental health could be integrated into primary health care. So we all left it, and that's why I think institutional care, which is supposed to be secondary, collapsed. The point is, we are trying to get people into mental health care. Let's ask for an integration into the health system. If we start asking for only health, some priority for the mental health alone, people get jittery and they think that somebody is taking too much of the cake away. I think that even though we are promoting it, let's make sure that at that level it's integrated. If it's not integrated, we'll continue to have the 1% or the point-something% for mental health care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In addition to what he said, I believe that mental health is a holistic approach that is required to make sure that it reaches levels that will cause substantial development and sustainable ones for that matter. If you take a careful look at the Ghana mental policy that was revised in 2006 and is still pending its passage, you'll notice how extensive that it covers. It's so detailed in its intricacies relating to various sectors, all the way to decentralization of the primary care of psychiatric patients and mental disorder patients, all the way to the primary level. The problem is we haven't been able to push forward enough to make it come into implementation. I believe that a whole lot of work is being done, and I would like to congratulate the proponents of the policy and its setting up together, and we need to just encourage ourselves that if we come together to accept this policy to come into being, a lot of the problems would diminish gradually. And as my other contestants have also said, the incentives will come. It will encourage more people to get into the field, and we will be able to achieve our development goals. Thank you.
Brevity is the soul of wit. So I would just like to say that even as much as we are trying to promote mental health care, we should be careful that we don't speak of an integration of mental health care with physical health care, because what we are actually proposing is a non-separation of the two. It's not that they are two different things, but they are actually something which are together and come together to form our state of health, but due to some means or other have now become separated into two. So in as much as we are educating people and we are informing people, we should just let them know that it is not an integration of two forms of health, but rather we are advocating a non-separation of the two different forms of health. Thank you.
My name is Mr. Kukujani. I practiced forensic psychiatry for 27 years in the United Kingdom. I'm now in Ghana. I've been here for 15 years. And since I've been here, I've always been amazed about the mental health care in Ghana. I would like to encourage all these young men here to practice it. It's only those who do not understand the subject that comes up with bizarre stories. And the moment you understand the subject and get onto it, you find it's a lovely subject to get into. When the guys and the lady were talking, I did not hear anything about forensic psychiatry. And I hope that as you grow to do your general psychiatry, you will also get into forensic work. And therefore, when you hear of serial killing, strange suicide, it's not only general work, but it's a lot of forensic work that has to be associated with it for you to have a better understanding of what happened. Sometimes it happens and government is even baffled as to what is going on. We hear of wind blowing from Togo and something strange is happening in Ghana. I can't believe it. We need to educate our people, and I'm glad the media is here to transmit these stories out so that people will just start beginning to understand what mental health is all about. Take away the xenophobia, take away the prejudices, take away the discrimination and all that. And I'm sure we'll get somewhere. Thank you very much.
I believe our judges have done a real great job, and I'm sure they made the best of decisions.
I will present the score since it's a contest, as if it were a boxing match. The first judge had it 188-184. The second judge had it 149-127. The third judge had it 146-130. The fourth judge had it 153-119. Unanimous decision in favor of SMS.
I also like to call Dr. Vincent Japan to also come up, congratulate the team. Thank you so much. And for the rest, thank you for coming. God bless you.